Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo, and today we're going to talk about something very interesting. Listen, my friends, the topic today is called the double-edged sword of social media and how usually online actions can actually shape lives from, repetition to ruin, and the idea of navigating the impact of social media. And I'm going to draw lessons from the life of David Gyle. Some of you probably know that movie. That movie was told of me by a professor, my distinguished brother and friend in law school, Dr. Roheza Daniel. Listen, in the age of digital age, the power of social media is undeniable, and it has actually revolutionized the way in which we connect, communicate, and even share our lives with the world. However, as this technological marvel evolves, there are certain consequences, and therefore my intention is to explore some profound impact of how social media has impacted on individuals, highlighting on how online actions, for example, whether right or wrong, can shape and in some cases destroy lives. And that's the argument. And as I said, I'll talk about the movie, The Life of David Gale. So in today's interconnected world, a single post or even a momentary lapse of judgment or even the spread of false information can actually lead to a cascade of events that actually reverberate through society in terms of individuals' personal and even professional life. So as we try to divulge into these life experiences and how public judgment and even social media in terms of scrutiny can actually take a toll on one's reputation or career and even mental well-being, it's important for you to comprehend. I'll give some practical examples. So as I said, I will explore the duality of social media, where platforms are designed for connectivity and can also become, as I said, breeding grounds for cyberbullying, harassment, and even relentless spread of misinformation. And I'll discuss sometimes how false accusations, privacy breaches, and even viral scandals can actually result into lasting damage and the harsh realities of that individuals face within their lives as they become fodder in terms of online judgment. Needless to point out how many we have today in terms of people who do what, social media stuff. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The intention is also to look at some stories of resilience and redemption and the power in terms of support network, discovering how individuals who have actually faced some of these destructive forces of social media have actually found ways to rebuild their lives in terms of challenging public perception and also harnessing the positive aspects of online platforms. Today we have so many people who do blogging and do stuff to do with YouTubers and stuff like that, and you know how much stuff that goes on. So ultimately, I will underscore the importance and responsible online behavior in terms of empathy, but also in terms of recognizing that we are all humans and we are prone to error, and we deserve perhaps a chance of redemption. And I'll serve in terms of what we call a cautionary tale, in terms of giving a call for action for more compassionate and even responsible online dealings in terms of social media harnessing for the good rather than for destruction. Needless to point out that some of you do not know, but just one small snippet on social media can actually destroy someone's life. Social media basically refers to a collection of online platforms and technologies that enable individuals and groups to create, share, and even interact with content and information in a digital and social and even interactive manner. So basically, these platforms facilitate in terms of communication, in terms of connection, and in terms of the exchange of various types of content, including text, images, videos, and even the more. So social media has actually become an integral part of modern communication and plays a significant role in terms of the various aspects of our society, including personal interaction, business, politics, and even entertainment and news in terms of dissemination. And I'll give some certain common features and certain characteristics of social media platforms and what they would include. They would argue in terms of what they call user profiles. And by user profiles, users basically typically create profiles that actually include personal information in terms of interest and connections with others. And I will explain the abuse, as I said, the incredible abuse that is going on in this nation. Perhaps it's a call to His Excellency the President, but that maybe its time has come that we need to regulate things like TikTok and WhatsApp, the way people defame and humiliate others, and end up even in this argument of so-called content creation. you know, content creation, basically users use various types of content such as status updates, photos, videos, and even links and articles, either publicly or within selected groups of contacts. But the argument here is that some people have misused that to the detriment of others. We have, before even making a case, let me first give you the advantages of the different forms of social media interplay. There's also what they call interconnectivity. Social media platforms allow users to engage with the content through actions like, liking or, connecting or even sharing and even interacting. And we're not saying that it is bad. We are saying let's look at the good side of it rather than the bad one. Now, there's also networking. Users can connect with individuals, organizations, or groups, forming online networks of friends or followers and even connections. I mean, I'm doing social media display in terms of YouTube, so I'm looking at it in that context. But how about if I use it to the detriment of abusing others without substantive evidence? Then there's also in terms of real-time updates. Many social media platforms give, real-time updates in terms of ensuring that users see the latest content activities in terms of their connections. How about in terms of privacy controls? Users can often, control the visibility of their content and even informing by adjusting what they call, privacy settings, for example. That's another aspect of how you can actually, perhaps protect yourself. Now, common examples of social media platforms would include things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, what they call print cell or YouTube, and many others. So each platform may actually cater for specific types of content and users in terms of interactions, catering for the different types of interests and needs as it were. Now listen, social media has actually a profound impact in terms of communication, in terms of information sharing, in terms of marketing, and even social and political movements. It has actually become significant part of people's daily lives, allowing them to connect with friends and family and stay informed about current events, expressing perhaps their opinions and engaging in various online communities as it were. So I am substantively making a case for social media, but I'm looking at it in terms of the good part of how we need to regulate rather than how it becomes destructive to the detriment of people's lives. By the way, social media encompasses a wide range of platforms, as I said, and tools that facilitate digital communication, and in terms of what they call content creation, in terms of sharing and interaction. And I'm going to give you some tools and the features that you may find across various social media platforms, as I said. One of them is what they call user profiles. Here, what happens is that users, as I said, create personal profiles that often include information such as name, profile picture, bio, for example, and links to other social media platforms and websites. Please stay with me, bear with me, because I'm going to relate that to the life of David Gyle, and you will understand. Those of you who may have attended some substantive good law schools, you'll understand it's something that's recommended in law school to watch. In terms of posts and in terms of status updates, users can actually create and even share text-based posts, videos and links with their followers or the public, for example. And then in terms of likes and reactions, that's another one. Yeah, users can express their approval and sentiments towards posts by clicking like, and the other reactions to emojis such as love or laugh or sad or angry. And all these things subconsciously have an impact on our lives, either positively or negatively. And this is my point of argument. We're going to go there. In terms of comments, users can actually engage in conversations by actually commenting on posts. And these comments can range from simple responses to even more in-depth discussions. I have benefited a lot from discussions, substantive intellectual discourses from people like the likes of my brother Mahiri, in terms of Baringer, in terms of having an intellectual discourse. In terms of sharings and retreats, users can actually share contents and they can become interesting in terms of other followers, in terms of retweeting, what they call reposting the content for others to amplify the reach. Another is in terms of followers and following. Users can actually follow others in terms of their profile to see their updates and even how they can be followed by other users in return, so that they can comprehend and appreciate what others are doing. And then in terms of what they call hashtags, users can actually include hashtags in their posts to categorize and even discover related content. So hashtags actually help organize content around specific topics or even themes. Please understand the importance of this discussion. If there is anything that we need to guard, it is this. Mr. President, this is super important. I'll tell you the repercussions. In terms of direct messaging, for example, most social media platforms often, offer private messaging features, allowing users to send messages directly to individuals or even groups. In terms of stories, short-lived or even what they call ephemeral content that disappears after a set period, usually 24 hours. Users can actually post photos and even videos to their stories. Yeah, and if you're looking at it in terms of good, substantive, educative content, this is what I'm really emphasizing, as opposed to destructive, malicious, malified content. In terms of live streaming, some platforms allow users to live stream video content, enabling real-time interactions with their audiences. Even in terms of sensitizing public against misfortunes or even criminal activity. In terms of analytics and insights, social media platforms often provide users with data and analytics about their content in terms of the performance. Google does that, even YouTube does that. In terms of audience demographics and even engagement. And then in terms of what they call privacy control, users can actually adjust their privacy settings to control who can see their content and even interact with them. That's another beauty in terms of privacy that is actually engaging. Yeah. And then in terms of what they call trending topics, platforms like Twitter, or former Twitter for that purpose, which is they call X now, often displays trending topics in terms of hashtags to highlight popular, even current discussions. So all those are super advantageous. And I'm just breaking it down for you, and then I'll relay the life of David Gyle. And those of you again who have seen that, you may understand where I'm coming from and where I'm going. In terms of exploring or even discovering pages, features that recommend content to profile users based on their interest and even activity. Yeah. In terms of groups and communities, many platforms offer the ability to join and even create groups and even communities based on specific topics and interactions. Yeah. I mean, we probably each one of us belongs to a certain WhatsApp group. Yeah, depending on where your agency is. I know many times many people have been thrown off platform for perhaps abusing quotes or misfits in one way or the other. But that's another, we'll argue that. So ad campaign managers, for example, businesses and advertisers, social media platforms provide for managing advertising campaigns and even targeting specific demographics, and that is super good. Not so. And then what they call verification badges. Some platforms offer verification badges like what they call the blue check mark or on X or Twitter, for example, to confirm the authenticity of what they call high-profile accounts. Yeah. So the argument here, my friend, is that these tools and features vary from platform to platform, and each social media platform may have its unique characteristics and functionalities. Okay, and users can actually choose the platforms and even tools that best suit their communication and content sharing needs. Okay, and I'm going to give some examples of popular social media platforms in terms of the features that they may actually offer. I listed them last time, but in my earlier part, but now I'm just going to talk about them in terms of a substantive breakdown. Facebook, as an example, in terms of user profile, in terms of posts and even set updates, yeah, in terms of likes and reactions, okay, in terms of comments, that all that can be found on Facebook, in terms of shares, yeah, and I'm just breaking it down. Then I'll tell you how some people are destroying the lives of others using social media. And you just don't know. We have had instances in this country where people have actually died. Others have committed suicide. Others have been depressed forever. Others have been sent into renegation, lost their jobs because of social media frenzy, because of the inability to control what and how we do it. And I'm advocating and praying to the president, perhaps, or even to the powers that be, that we need to substantively control some of these abuses that I'm seeing happening on a gross level, in terms of these so-called YouTubers, or in terms of what they call bloggers or video bloggers for that purpose, and how they abuse and insult one another. People don't give a damn. They speak private matters about people, individuals, forgetting that these have substantive impact on the lives of individuals and even the children, perhaps, of those who are watching. Because these days it's just a question of having a phone and everything is on your phone. Twitter, for example, it may be good, but I know challenges. When a former president had issues with Twitter, you remember, in terms of hashtags, in terms of, and even was actually taken off Twitter for some time, later brought back. So you would understand that the power of social media is so immense that if you don't comprehend it wisely, it can make you or destroy you. Yeah? And those of you who are using it to the detriment of personalizing, that is where I'm coming, and that's where I feel a problem. Instagram, in terms of profile, in terms of photos, in terms of videos, it does a great. In terms of likes and comments, in terms of stories, in terms of direct messaging, in terms of hashtags. People wake up in the morning and say, how many likes do I have? How many things did I have? Now people, so these so-called content creators of these days, who call themselves journalists, yeah, have abused these social media platforms by reducing them to insulting individuals, personalizing issues where even it's not called for. If you have substantive evidence and you want to present it, and I think this is where the law has to have come in terms of laying the gap, in terms of libel and slander, in terms of these arguments of infringing on people's rights, perhaps computer misuse in this component. There are professional platforms that do a good job, like LinkedIn, for example. Yeah, in terms of professionals, in terms of connecting requests, in terms of posts and articles, in terms of, again, likes. But you see, the problem is that we have been captivated by likes and comments. How many likes do I have? How many dislikes do I have? Who is watching me? You know, when I started my YouTube channel, someone told me, let me sell you mine because mine has about 1 million views. Just, you know, we'll change your particulars and blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I would rather grow mine. Even if it's only one, I would stay with that one because they'll be diligent. They'll be listening to what I say. Eventually, they'll, you know, share the information to other people, you know, and other people will comprehend, and then they'll begin watching. And I'm saying that many people, because of the availability, the usability of the phones, the gadgets that we have, many people spend hours. We're no longer, you know, we're no longer gazing our eyes on TVs and the likes, on the likes of the traditional TVs. It's now the phones that are doing the thing, right? In terms of WhatsApp, in terms of Telegram, in terms of all those components that whatever that we use on our daily phones, and therefore messages come in left, right, and center, and someone can, and now with AI coming in, with the likes of deepfake, for example, the likes of being able to create someone's image or face, and then, you know, using even voice, the AI that can actually capture your voice and even, you know, replicate your voice as if you are the person. Their abuses are becoming so terrible. And that's the danger. That's the danger perhaps of AI in social media. By the way, all these tools I'm talking about really use AI. But my point is the abuse and how these things are having colossal destructive effect on the lives of individuals. Who doesn't remember in this country that was an individual who inadvertently perhaps was just having fun with the fella, and the thing went viral, and she couldn't hold the pressure, and man, we lost an incredible beauty in terms of that aspect. So these are questions that we need to understand, that even as we're engaging, whatever you're typing, whatever argument you're throwing to another, whatever, what do you call it, whatever Snapchat you're taking, whatever, you know, video you're recording, and then you're passing it over. Some people have the audacity even to share their personal experiences. They were lovers before, and then you had intimate pictures, and then you have the audacity to let them go because you have broken up with this individual. You know, we will understand that may be, and I'm not arguing in terms of perhaps how it can also help to expose criminality. Yeah, we remember the popular case in the Black Lives Matter. Yeah, remember the George case. Remember, where it was because of a video that were able to expose these racist police officers. Yeah, so I would understand that social media in terms of this has super important aspects in terms of if you operated and used rightly. But my problem is with individuals, especially in Uganda today. These guys who call themselves bloggers, yeah, these guys who call themselves YouTubers. Now people have likes because someone abuses. People are even paid. They are paid and say, I don't like character X, go abuse them. And incredible senior journalists, yeah? Perhaps these young journalists have misunderstood some people, in senior journalists who I greatly respect, who have actually, you know, passed on a bad, in my opinion, a bad trend in one way without telling them why or how these things happen. Maybe it goes back to the schools that we attend in terms of mass communication and the like, or journalism. Yeah. So the question of social media platforms and associated tools and how they impact on the lives of individuals is what I'm trying to emphasize, and I'm going to lay substantive examples in terms of the life of David Gyle. You will understand where I'm coming from. You will understand eventually why I'm emphasizing in terms of the life of David Gyle, who was a professor of philosophy, incredible, brilliant individual, and I'm trying to relate to what I'm saying. So in my opinion, social media itself doesn't have the inherent capability to physically kill or to destroy individuals, but it can certainly have significant impact on their lives and on their well-being in terms of various ways. And those are the aspects. Number one, it can have what they call reputational damage. Yeah? Social media can quickly spread information, whether it is true or false, about individuals. In terms of false accusations, or in terms of rumors, in terms of damaging information, it can harm a person's reputation, leading to social isolation, loss of job opportunities, and even emotional distress. And that is where the problem is. Yeah? In terms of cyberbullying, social media platforms can actually be used by way of cyberbullying. Relentless, online harassment or threats or public shaming can lead to severe emotional and even psychological harm. And in some cases, individuals may even contemplate self-harm and suicide as a result. I have 2 students who have called me from different universities wanting to kill themselves because of things that were put on their platforms by their friends. And that's the pain that I'm coming from. That's the understanding. That's how I'm trying to say, guys, let's be careful with this thing of social media. Wisely organize it. In terms of mental health impact, excessive use of social media can actually contribute to mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and loneliness. I know of an individual, a senior individual with the rank of almost a doctorate, who actually died because of impacts of social media, because of a small mistake that was, went viral. And we all have different emotional intelligences and in terms of comprehension. And I would understand why they would probably not be able to handle that. Then, in terms of private information, in terms of photos, in terms of videos, in terms of without perhaps consent, leading to serious violations of privacy and even potential harm. Your Excellency, if you're listening, I know I love and I appreciate where the world is going, but I think we have to learn to regulate these things. It's only now that I may understand a little bit of why Facebook become an issue. But in terms of what they call echo chambers and polarization, algorithms often show you the content in terms of aligning within the existing beliefs. Yeah? So creating what they call echo chambers can actually contribute to polarization, to the spread of misinformation, and in terms of negativity, for example. Yeah? So listen, these are important aspects that we need to talk about. These are, I don't know how I can super emphasize what I'm talking about. Yeah? In terms of addiction, for example, social media platforms are designed, by the way, to be addictive. Yeah? And excessive use can actually lead to what they call time wasting and even reduced productivity. Remember, His Excellency, you said something about that, in terms of people who are wasting time on Facebook. So addiction in terms of social media can actually also have negative effects in terms of relationships and even the overall well-being. Yeah? So, my friends, it is important to note that while social media can actually be a powerful tool for communication, for connection, for information sharing, for education, I am one of those people who broke ground in terms of social media on what they call the sui generis law app, the first of the kind in the entire world, where you could find everything in law, from undergraduate to PhD. But how you do it, how you share it, how responsible, how mindful. And we're not saying, even as education content creators, that we can also have challenges in terms of, maybe inadequate peer review perhaps, but sometimes malicious infringement by other people to completely derail or even destroy people's lives. Yeah? And so let me argue for you where I'm coming from. You may be familiar with the movie, as I said, The Life of David Gyle. It's a 2003 drama film directed by Alan Parker. Yeah? Starring people like Kevin Spacey, who unfortunately died of suicide, Kate Winslet and Laura Linney. So the movie basically revolves around a philosophy professor called David Gyle, who is sentenced to death for the murder of a fellow activist, and explores the things that related to death penalty and even ethics. So there's something specific that I would like you to appreciate. Listen, The Life of David Gyle addresses several important things in terms of moral dilemmas, in terms of teaching viewers various lessons through. And these are the things that I want to pick out in terms of key lessons that correspond to scenarios in terms of the snippets from this particular movie. The Life of David Gyle. As I said, it was introduced to me by my wonderful, much respected professor, Dr. Daniel Ruheza from Makerere University of Law, when he was teaching us law at law school. So in terms of the complexity of the death penalty, in the film, the debate over the death penalty is central. It highlights the complexity in terms of the subject, and the potential for errors in terms of the justice system. Yeah. So this challenges viewers to think critically about capital punishment and its implications. I'm just trying to break it down in terms of helping us to catch up from where I'm coming from and why you understand how this man's life was destroyed because of social media in one way or the other, if you comprehend it. In terms of the power of redemption, yeah, David Gyle was a former death penalty opponent and was wrongly accused for murder. So this demonstrates that people can actually change and seek redemption even in the face of their circumstances. So those of you who are throwing tantrums at people, please understand that regardless of whatever someone may have done, there's a possibility that these individuals have the ability to change. You don't know how hurting what you're doing to them. In terms of consequences of false accusation, the movie shows how false accusations can actually destroy the lives and reputation. David Gyle's life is actually ruined due to a false accusation, illustrating the importance of fairness and due process in the legal system. Yeah? In terms of ethics in journalism, and you need to look out for a book, yeah? The Law of Media Law and Journalism in Uganda by Isaac Christopher Lubogo, which you can easily find at lubogo.org. In terms of ethics in journalism, the character of Bitsy Bloom, yeah, played by Kate Winslet, was a journalist investigating David Gyle's case. Her journey reflected the responsibility of what they call journalists to seek the truth in terms of maintaining what they call ethical standards in reporting. I haven't seen many traditional news going off, but these so-called bloggers, that's where we're having the problem. The impact of personal belief, for example. David Gyle's personal beliefs and actions come into conflict throughout the film, yeah? And this highlights the importance of what they call ethical consistency and the potential consequences of compromising one's principles, yeah? I'm gonna argue all these things for you one by one so you'll understand where we're coming and the passion and the pain that I'm relating with individuals, as I said, who have been destroyed, whose lives have been destroyed. The power of friendship, for example. The relationship between David Gyle and his close friend, Constance Haraway, yeah, underscores the importance of loyalty and support in difficult times. Sometimes when I'm going through some troubles, I call my friend Badwino and we have a chat and we comprehend certain things and we encourage one another. Yeah, he was telling me recently of a story about Professor someone. Anyway, the aspect of unpredictability in terms of life, the unexpected twist in the plot of this movie reminds us that life is often unpredictable and that our actions and decisions can actually have what they call unforeseen circumstances. Some of you think that you've made it. Life is a journey, not a destination, my friend. So these lessons are woven in narrative of the life of David Gyle, prompting us to understand and reflect on their own beliefs in terms of values, in terms of attitude towards justice and morality. Yeah? Now listen, in the life of David Gyle, as I said, the character Bitsy Bloom, portrayed by Kate Winslet, who was a journalist who actually investigates this particular guy, David Gyle, will help us reflect what they call ethical responsibilities in journalism, especially in the light of the truth. That's where I'm coming. Yeah? So, when I borrow from the movie, it revealed that David Gyle had actually had a sexual relation with a particular woman. Yeah? And a fact that plays significant role in terms of unfolding the story. Yeah? So, Bitsy Bloom faces a moral dilemma as she uncovers this information. So I'm going to give some points related to this issue and the importance of truth in social media or the importance of truth in journalism. So it's important, even as you're engaging in these so-called whatever's of yours, balancing confidentiality in terms of your reporting. Bitsy had to weigh the importance of revealing the truth, which could have implications of David Gyle's case, against respecting the confidentiality of sources and the privacy of individuals that were involved. Important point for you to note. You guys who do blogs and stuff like that, I will not mention that you know yourselves. In terms of seeking the full story is another aspect. Journalists or bloggers or whoever or tweeters have a responsibility to seek the full and accurate information, even if it involves uncomfortable or sensitive details. This can be challenging. It requires balancing the public's right to know with ethical considerations. That's another aspect. But also, more importantly, how helpful it is. Is it a question of importance? Is it a do or die? How about journalistic integrity? Bitsy's struggle with her own ethical principles and her commitment to journalism as a core value illustrated the importance of maintaining what they call journalistic integrity, even when faced with difficult decisions. Yeah? How about aspect of accountability? Even before for accountability, I'll tell you that they used to tell us that if you if you point a finger at someone, be mindful of this one pointing back to you. How about aspect of accountability? The movie also highlights the role of journalism in terms of holding individuals and institutions accountable for their actions, which is fundamental in terms of the function of what they call a free press, as it were. So ultimately, the argument here is that the movie explores the complexities of journalism and the ethical dilemmas that bloggers or social medias may actually encounter when pursuing the truth. And in my opinion, it underscores the importance of what we call responsible reporting while navigating sensitive and potentially damaging information. Remember that, as I said, point at me, this is pointing back to you. He who without sin should be the first person to do what? To throw the stone. So in terms of describing David Gyle's story, the instance is to illustrate a series of events including personal mistakes, societal judgment, that can have profound and devastating impact on an individual's life. Now, as I say, this narrative helps us to give what they call a broader perspective in terms of the potential consequences of social media and public scrutiny in real life situations. And I'm gonna give a reasoned analysis in terms of how social media and public judgment can actually affect individuals. And that's where I'm coming from. Now, the power of public opinion. From David Gyle's life, unraveled due to a series of events that were actually amplified by public opinion and media coverage. Social media today can actually magnify the impact of public judgment, making it challenging for individuals to move past their mistakes. He who without sin should be the first to cast a stone. That's what Jesus told the guys when they caught the woman in the act of adultery. In terms of privacy and consent, David is, sexual encounter, while ethically questionable, involves elements of manipulation, by the way, and vulnerability. In today's digital age, maintaining privacy and consent is critical, as even personal mistakes can actually become public without one's consent. How many times have we seen individuals who lecture as or being blamed for ABCD sexual whatever, rightly or wrongly? In terms of moral hypocrisy, society often places high moral standards on individuals, and any perceived deviation from these standards can lead to severe consequences. Social media can actually exacerbate moral judgment and even amplify outrage. Yeah? Rightly or wrongly. Even now that we're talking about the issue of that individual whose name I'm not mentioned anyway. Professional and personal consequences. Yeah? David's loss of job opportunities, system support, and a descent into depression mirrors real life situations where individuals face professional and even personal consequences due to public scrutiny and the social media backlash. So you don't know what you're doing to someone's life. You don't know how many jobs, how many people are dependent upon them. You don't know how you're cutting their life support system entirely off. For petty things sometimes, really, yeah? And then the aspect of support networks, the importance of relationships, as I said, yeah? The argument of family, individuals, the argument of emotional support, assistance during difficult times. You just don't know that by victimizing or throwing tantrums on social media, you're actually virtually ending people's lives. Media bias and responsibility is another aspect. As an evolving role in terms of media, journalism can actually cause, especially if irresponsible, can cause people to be biased against particular individuals. Journalism in terms of media can make you or even unmake you in a day, by the way. Yeah? If all the media decides to talk good things about Lubogo today, he will be a superstar. If they talk about Lubogo bad, he will be, a devil of sorts. Social media impact. The age of social media, individuals can actually face relentless online harassment, doxing, and even character assassination based on even past or even present misses. Whether true or not, this can lead to serious emotional and psychological harm. So before you judge your friend, why would you go on social media and begin embarrassing people? Real life examples, as I said, abound to individuals who have actually faced public shaming, cyberbullying, I said, reputational damage due to social media scrutiny. Okay? And therefore the need to empathize, the need to have responsible reporting, the need to recognize that individuals can change and actually deserve a chance at redemption. Life is a journey, not a destination. You understand that? So the life of David Gyle, as I said, serves as a cautionary tale about the potential consequences of moral judgment and the impact of public opinion, which is magnified in today's era of digital communication and social media. So it underscores, as I said, the importance of fairness, the importance of compassion, and understanding in how society deals with individuals' mistakes and past actions. Please understand that. I used to wonder why His Excellency is probably the most abused individual perhaps in this country. But at the same time, he's the most quiet. What some individuals say, give them a contempt card. Yeah? You remember what Tamale Mirundi, the distinguished journalist, senior journalist, used to say? Sometimes you have to give them a contempt card. You just simply keep quiet, whether it's true or not. So, again, David Gyle's truthful fall in terms of the captivity of that so-called sexual advance in this movie, yeah? A respected professor involving in a sexual encounter with a student, while the encounter is consensual, it complicated the issues by way of manipulation and vulnerability. Yeah? When you parallel that to some in terms of social media, in terms of today, such personal incidents, if exposed on social media without the context or consent, can lead to public shaming and judgment, potentially destroying an individual's reputation. That's what happened to Professor David Gyle, a professor in psychology, a man who was, sui generis, yeah? The brilliance of this lecturer was unequated, but because of this one mistake, yeah, it was clear that in spite of his brilliance as a lecturer and his commitment to the abolition of death penalty, which were clearly unrelated to these personal mistakes, yeah, the parallel in terms of social media, these personal mistakes are often sensationalized, yeah, overshadowing an individual's professional achievement, and this can result in people being defined by their worst moments rather than their accomplishment. Listen, you guys who are bloggers and whatever, you know yourselves. Many of you do them in the Luganda version. You know yourselves. Yeah? And then the argument, I keep asking some students, the aspect of power differential and coercion. The movie explored the aspect of power differential, at a play during David's encounter with the student. It suggested that the individual's student manipulated him, taking advantage of his vulnerability. Yeah? But if you're arguing that in terms of the parallel to social media, in the digital age, people can actually exploit others' vulnerabilities. Yeah? Who was vulnerable at this point? Was it the professor or the student? It's clear that the student deliberately actually insinuated or even put herself in that position that she took advantage of a man who had family issues and drank and followed him in the toilet and watched the movie. In terms of societal hype and even job loss, David Gyle's lost job opportunities. In terms of social isolation due to moral judgment of society, despite his exceptional abilities as an educator. Yeah? When you parallel that in terms of social media can actually amplify moral outrage, leading to real-world consequences such as job loss, social ostracization, even when an individual's professional skills, as I said, remain intact. Who does not know the biblical stories of people like Moses, even when they sinned, and God had to rebuke Miriam for that purpose? Yeah? In terms of losing support and systems and family, yeah? David's wife and the best friend distanced themselves from him. Even they took the child away as a result of this scandal. When in terms of social media, personal lives can deeply affect one as individual because of social media exposure of the individual, in terms of mistakes or even secrets leaking to the erosion relationship and support systems. Yeah? How many relationships have, even highly blessed individuals' relationships, now people have separated beds because of mistakes. Yeah? People perhaps kill one another because of mistakes. Others resort to drinking and even, as a coping mechanism. Even David turned to drinking as a means of coping with depression, overwhelming this challenge that he was going through. So online harassment and public judgment can drive individuals to unhealthy coping mechanism, exacerbating what they call mental health issues. I'm having a discussion today on mental health in men. And men are known to be masculine, but I understand the proneness that is related to that. Finding comfort in selected individuals. David tried to find solace in a few individuals who supported him, including his lawyer and work partner and the journalist who initially reported his case. Yeah. In terms of parallel to social media, a supportive network can actually be crucial in terms of crisis, and individuals may actually turn to close friends or allies to help them facing online harassment or reputational challenge. And you'll be lucky. I think it was what George Washington who said, if you want a friend in Washington, go find a dog. Sometimes you may not even have a friend, you may have associates. So the life of David Gyle serves as I said, a cautionary tale, showing how series of events and public judgment can, spiral out of control and have devastating consequences for an individual's life. So it underscores, as I say, the importance of empathy, responsible online behavior, and the need to recognize that people can change and deserve a chance at redemption, both in terms of their actions, but also in terms of age. There's a popular politician here who said, yes, I acknowledge I used to do things when I was of a certain age, but now I've matured. Some of them have sung songs to the extent they're saying that when I was young, I would do ABCD, but now I've matured. So if I'm going to examine the life of David Gyle, as I said, and relate them to points in terms of potential effects of public scrutiny, in terms of lessons that we can learn, I could say the following in terms of being cautious on this so-called big superpower. By the way, social media is more explosive than a nuclear bomb. Please understand that. In terms of David's accusation and loss of job opportunities, David Gyle was falsely accused of murder, and his reputation was tarnished. The false accusation and public judgment can have severe consequences, including loss of job in terms of opportunities. No one was able to hire him despite the fact that he was, graduate magna cum or summa cum laude. The damage of one's professional life. It mirrors real life situations where individual careers have adversely been affected by false allegations circulating on social media. How many people have lost jobs? You know them. And I'm talking to you. You know that I know the pain that some of you are going through. But this is for you. In terms of privacy, in terms of consent, people, manipulation and vulnerability. The movie reveals to us circumstances of David Gyle's sexual encounter with a student, highlighting manipulation and, as I said, the aspect of vulnerability that was involved. And it underscores the importance of respecting privacy and consent, especially in today's digital age. Posting sensitive or private information without consent on social media can lead to harm and trauma for individuals. I told you of an incredible, wonderful lady who died just because poor woman could not take the pressure of social media. And because maybe we don't have psychological support system in terms of counseling. How about aspects in terms of high hypocrisy and public outrage? Public reaction to David's alleged actions was intense, with moral outrage and judgment dominating the discourse. Many people come, even those who probably have worse things than you. So the argument here is that it illustrates that how society often places high moral standards on individuals, and the amplification of such outrage on social media that can lead to harsh consequences. As I said, it serves as a cautionary tale about the power of public opinion and the need for empathy in our social digital interactions. And I'm appealing to those senior journalists, the one where people are now imitating. The guys I'm talking about. It's time to rethink how you do your thing. In terms of support networks, in terms of importance of friendship, some people deliberately take it a duty to fight one another. They are paid one and embarrass so and so. And that's what I'm saying, His Excellency, perhaps it's time to find amends in terms of trying to regulate the aspects of some of these social media whatevers. We love them and we know how much they can do, but we also know how destructive they can be in terms of individual lives. I know we have the law, Computer Misuse Act, which is substantially important, although it has some issues in terms of the argument of what? Of fairness, but that's the point. We need to have substantive outplays of justice and fairness, even as we engage in these things. In this particular movie, again, it emphasizes the aspect of responsibility of you bloggers or whatever to report ethically, to consider the potential harm, as I said, in terms of reporting, and remember that media can shape public opinion and impact individual lives significantly. So bloggers are even paid, especially by these so-called, not so-called, but yes, so-called, but without mentioning any name, even so-called celebrities, go do this, go do that. Social impact on reputation. You know, it predates on the rise of social media in terms of public judgment, in terms of media coverage. You know, so we can see this as a precursor on how social media can actually amplify, as I said, reputational damage in terms of today. So the argument here is the rapid spread of information on social media means that individuals should be cautious about what they post and what they share. False and damaging information can equally quickly harm someone's reputation. Yeah? Please understand that. And then the argument in terms of the consequences of relentless judgment. Yeah? When you argue it from the point of David Gyle, David's life continues to unveil or to unravel, leading to tragic consequences. Yeah? And therefore, the lesson here, it serves as a stark reminder that relentless judgment and public scrutiny can have dire real-life consequences, including emotional and psychological harm. I just told you, individuals who have run berserk, others we've lost dearly just because of social media. So you would understand that people may not have that strength to comprehend. We all go through, someone throws an issue and you're like, oh my goodness, yeah? So, as I said, the argument is that I'm painting a poignant example of how public judgment and moral outrage can be amplified through these various social media channels and leading to devastating consequences for individuals. And it underscores, as I say, the importance of empathy, responsible reporting, and the need to tread carefully in our interactions on social media, considering the potential harm or words and actions that can cause to others. If it does not come on your door, you may not comprehend. You may say, no, tumwabye, tumukube, chimudira, those aspects. But when it's on your door, that's when you know what we're talking about. So, the life of David Gyle raises various ethical and moral questions throughout. And although not doesn't necessarily present a single most evil thing as a lesson per se, but the arguments in terms of false accusations, for example, yeah? False accusation and the subsequent legal proceedings against David Gyle serve as a cautionary tale about the potential for miscarriage in terms of justice, emphasizing the importance of fair and reliable legal system. You know, think about it even in terms of our country here. If it can happen in so-called superpower countries like America, how much more in small countries like Uganda? And then the argument of public morality and judgment, yeah? In terms of highlighting how society's moral outrage and judgment can lead to devastating consequences for individuals, even when their personal mistakes do not directly relate to their professional capabilities. Regardless, as I said, he is without sin should be the first to cast a stone. How about media responsibility? It underscores the ethical responsibilities of media, you know, urging you bloggers and socialists to report truthfully and responsibly, considering the potential harm that your reporting can cause to your friend, to your sister, to your brother. How about the aspects of power dynamics in terms of consent? Yeah, exploring the complexities of power dynamics, and even especially in terms of arguments that sexual encounters or prompting discussions about ethical behavior. If individual X power dynamics is assumedly more heavier in a certain context and makes a sweeping statement, it can be detrimental to someone's life completely. Yeah. How about support and redemption? The importance of supportive networks in terms of the potential for redemption, you know, are several themes again, suggesting how that individuals can change and deserve empathy and a chance to rebuild their lives, as I say. Yeah? And I'm not making an advocacy for flimsy excuses that now you're making advocacy for people who are wrong and we shall just let them be. No. No. Yeah? That's far from what I'm talking about. I'm only saying let's be fair. Let's do it right. Let's be, you know, let's be what? In family law, for example, there are instances where certain matters happen in chambers or, you know, indoors without public interaction. Why is that so? So to protect perhaps the integrity of particular individuals, for example. Journalists have a tendency of not taking kids' pictures when they're young to protect, you know, the vulnerability of these individuals, for example. These are aspects I'm talking about. You know, how about looking behind the individual themselves? Yeah, there's a lecturer, brilliant, incredible gentleman, Dr. Ben, incredible professor of law. who said that even as you are marking, remember that there is a face behind a script. You know, I was amazed by that statement. Incredible, powerful, strong statement. Behind every script, yeah, there is a face, there is an individual behind it. So even as you want to, to show your authority in terms of marking, this person should fail, or the other should do this, or da. Be careful, be mindful of some of those aspects. Not to compromise, but to be fair. Yeah? I'll give you an example of people who have lost their lives. Incredible, brilliant people. Whitney Houston, some of you remember that. Whitney Houston, a legendary singer and actress, faced public scrutiny and media attention due to her struggles with substance abuse. Her erratic behavior and declining health were widely reported, and she faced criticism during her lifetime. Yeah? But listen, after her untimely death in 2012, there was significant outpouring of grief and appreciation for her talent. Many began to focus more on her contribution in terms of music and entertainment rather than on her personal struggles. Yeah? Basimo Kozechi, Basimo again, that's the song that your guy Chameleon sang, right? So her story serves as a reminder of the human capacity for empathy and the ability to reevaluate public figures, or any person for that purpose, in terms of the legacies that they command. Yeah? How about your guy? He was my guy too when I was young. We used to do the MJ guy, Michael Jackson, remember? The king of pop. Faced allegations in terms of child molestation and even legal battles during his lifetime. These controversies deeply affected his reputation and even career. Even your guy, R. Kelly. Yeah? But after his death in 2009, there was a resurgence of appreciation for his music and contributions, to the entertainment industry. And many fans and supporters chose to focus on his artistic achievements while acknowledging the controversies. And we are not saying that we are making an advocacy for wrong. No, a wrong is a wrong. That's the argument I'm making in my dispensation of Ubuntu and the law, and in my PhD doctorate of Ubuntu in terms of a dispensation, constitutional dispensation in Uganda. So Michael Jackson's case highlights public opinion, how it can evolve over time with people reevaluating the balance between person's flaws and their contribution to society. Yeah? These are the arguments I'm trying to say. So these examples illustrate that while celebrities or any other person for that purpose may face condemnation during your lifetime, yeah, these struggles are part of life, and we should be careful. I'll tell you a story of my father when he was studying in Newcastle. After doing exam, that time of doing the exam, and he was walking back with his colleagues and saying, by the way, how did you answer question A, B, C, D? Yeah? And then he realized, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. Let me run back to the professor. I made a mistake. So he runs back to the professor and tells, Professor, wait a minute. The other question you asked about A, B, C, D? He said, yes. Tell me, Patrick, what happened? He said, I actually made a mistake. I should have said this. And the professor said, wait a minute. Why do you think you made a mistake? So my father started explaining that it should have been this way because this book says that, because you explained this in class, but oh my goodness, I made a mistake. Guess what? My father watched the professor. He said, what's your name? What's your registration number? The professor pulled out the paper, the script, yeah, from the envelope and said, this is your paper? Yes. And tore it in front of my father. My father was like, goodness me, what's happening? Have I just made a mistake? A further mistake? Is it jumping from the fire? From the saucer to the fire? Yeah? Or from the flying plant for that purpose to the fire? And my father and the professor said, you have passed. The professor said, you have passed, go. The argument here, the professor said, is not to fail you, but to see that you comprehend and understand what's going on. So in spite of the challenges that you and I may have gone through, whether yesterday, today, or forever, can we be fair to one another? Can we practice Ubuntu in our space? Can we understand that you turning the other cheek sometimes is better? Can we understand that sometimes is what they call winning by losing, a given paradox? Can we understand that people can be given a second chance, perhaps even a third chance, or even a fourth chance? Can we understand that life is much bigger than what we see today? Can we understand that even if you win the entire world, what does it profit a man if they win the entire world and lost their soul? Can we understand that you, who is victimizing, deliberately fighting, pulling people down, manslinging, whether rightly or wrongly, you are not adding value to yourself at all. You're actually destroying yourself. Dr. King told us that. He said, I have found love a lighter burden than hate, so I choose love. Yeah, love covers a multitude of sins. The Holy Scripture tells us that. So some of you who deliberately, out of malafide and malice, go ahead to victimize, to malign, to shame, to embarrass, to humiliate people on social media under the disguise because you have that power. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. Yeah? I'll give you an example of Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart faced legal trouble and was convicted for inside trading and obstruction of justice. Her reputation suffered a lot. She served even a lifetime in prison. Yeah? And the argument here is that business ethics come into focus in cases like this, illustrating the impact of legal troubles in terms of individual reputation and career. I'll give you another example of Robert Downey Jr. Yeah? These are celebrities of sorts who struggled with substance abuse, many issues in terms of their years, which led to legal problems and even damaged his career. He eventually sought treatment and rehabilitation and even made successful comeback, and is now one of Hollywood's most respected actors. Yeah? So the lesson here is that the importance of seeking help is important. Rehabilitation is important. Possibility for redemption is important. Yeah? And possibility for recovery is highlighted in most of these challenges that we go through in our day-to-day life. I think Oprah Winfrey said, failure is just, a caution on your life that, wait a minute, you can do it better. It's not a victimization of saying now, you know what, your life is gone. Yeah? So you people who accept people's rationalization to justify your failure, you find yourself in deep trouble. So, as I said, we need to place ourselves, empathize. It was, I think, Mahatma Gandhi who said you don't want to lay accusation on another person or judge them until you wear their shoes and walk in them. As I said, and I'm not making an advocacy for wrongdoing per se. There's a story that's told of Napoleon, where someone went to him after, I think it was a thief or something, and was asking for mercy. The mother was asking for the mercy because the guy was going to be killed. Yeah? And went to Napoleon and fell on his knees and said, have mercy, my child is going to be killed. And Napoleon said, why should I have mercy on such an evil guy? And the woman said, because he deserves mercy. Unmerited favor. The point is that. And Napoleon said, wait a minute, that's true. He forgave him. Unmerited favor. Sometimes we have to comprehend that we are in this, human flesh. And sometimes we make mistakes. And I'm not talking about, not being transparent or accountable. That is important. But I'm saying that we should do it in a transparent, about our policies, about our content moderation, about our practices, about our so-called algorithmic decisions in terms of the making processes. Yeah? In terms of everyone who uses, and as I said, regulation should be very strong on some of these things to protect people who are silently dying, who can wake up this morning to go to work because of social media challenge. I just told you students were about to commit suicide because of that. Using in terms of education, promoting digital literacy, for example, we do that at Sweet Generation. So it helps us. Although sometimes we may have challenges in terms of, potential mistakes, human error. Instead of order 9, you may say order 92, but you meant order 9 rule 2, and someone jumps on your head and victimizes and abuses you, Yet if you calmly say, by the way, please make, a correction of that, I would appreciate and understand, My friend, Dr. Ismail, keeps telling me that you have to learn to speak to your friends in an intellectual way. Yeah? So we need content moderation, in my opinion. I remember Justice Sekana told me one time that sometimes even when you're writing, be careful. When he was writing his first books, he had challenges. Yeah? And then he told me that just keep doing what you know you're doing. Do it right. He said people will come to you and victimize you, but they don't have better offers. Many of those who victimize you don't even have better offers. They have not probably written anything. Today he's in high position, yet people are pulling him down, castigating him, abusing him, are nowhere to be seen anymore. Yeah? They're probably begging on their knees now. Yeah? So, before you begin pointing fingers and victimizing people and trying to do, I'm not arguing against constructive criticism. No. Constructive criticism is super, super important. Yeah? And there are substantive ways of doing that. But you say, do it under data privacy protection, in terms of regulating or safeguarding again personal information, so that you can help your friend or sister or brother to enhance and become a much better person. How beautiful it will be tomorrow if you saw someone you help build or become a better person. Wouldn't they so and so made me? Yeah? I know it's important in combating disinformation. Disinformation is what I'm saying. And that's why sometimes we have to collaborate with fact checkers and even independent organizations to identify and label false information and promote authoritative sources. Peer review comes in. Many of our books may not be peer reviewed, but because sometimes peer review in the Ghanaian context, you know what that means. You give a guy a book like Objection, My Lord, who's going to be peer reviewed? They want money. Why are you going to get money to pay them? Yeah? In terms of reducing polarization, adjusting algorithms to reduce what they call echo chamber effect, and in terms of promoting what they call viewpoints to counteract polarization, perhaps. Yeah? And then the argument of what they call anti-bot measures, it cannot be an aspect in terms of social media. Yeah? Implementing measures to identify and combat automated bot accounts that spread misinformation and even engage in malicious activities. They are there. I just told you about deepfake. Yeah? They are there. And some of you don't know that someone can write something. I mean, the argument for promoting positive content, before I bring in these stories that I wanted to say, but the argument of promoting positive content becomes important. Engaging or encouraging promotion of positive, constructive content to foster community engagement and well-being. How useful is this information? It may have challenges. Many of you read about the Wright brothers. How long did the first plane even fly? A few seconds. But yet today, aerodynamics is because of them. How about integrity in terms of even election integrity, in terms of transparent political policies, in terms of measures against foreign interference? And that's perhaps my argument in terms of AI today, particularly super AIs, yeah? Because many of the information they have is data dependent on those so-called superpowers. So in terms of user empowerment, it gives you control over the data, including ability to export and even delete people's information easily. Talk about the right to be forgotten as an internet right. Yeah. In terms of oversight and regulation, governments should actually establish regulatory bodies or even frameworks to oversee social media platforms and ensure that they adhere to responsible practices while respecting free speech. And that's the point I'm trying to say. And that's the argument that we had in terms of remember the act, yeah, the Computer Misuse Act, in terms of the freedom of free speech, yeah. How about global collaboration in terms of encouraging international cooperation and standards for regulating social media? As we transcend boundaries, it's super important. You do something here, and it felt everywhere. But responsible doing, and I'm saying it's not easy. I know. You may say, Brother Isaac, you're talking about something that is extremely difficult to implement here. But the point is, I'm also trying to say that this responsiveness or this argument I'm making should be better understood by protecting harmful content at the detriment of others, because someone is getting money out of it. And striking a balance, as I said, would require ongoing dialogues and between government perhaps and platforms and civil society and users to enable them to, in terms of greater use, in terms of mitigating potential harms. And the point is as I said, we not to go away or to simply say a red line, social media is bad. No, we are saying responsible social media. I can point 1,001 people, as I said, in this country. The bloggers that I'm talking about. They call them V-bloggers or whatever, video bloggers or whatever. Yeah? The pain that they're putting on people's hearts. Some of them deliberately paid and even have sponsors on their YouTube channels and whatever. And someone deliberately abuses or insults, throwing tantrums, and because he's having likes or views, and categorically goes and says, subscribe, give me a like, at the detriment of other people. And I also know some journalists who become extremely passionate, in terms of their argument because of the pain they bear in their hearts because of some acts and omissions that were done against them, by certain individuals. I would understand that, yeah? I know for a fact that the pain may live with some individuals forever. But how about, having substantive responsible living? Because people who learn from those senior journalists miss the point. They will be excited because the senior journalist has got so many people who like him because he speaks substance, by the way, you know, save for certain times when he momentarily may lose it. But the point is, these young guys who simply want to jump and make a name because they've had so and so has done it, they do not know, they don't have the substance. I have learned substantive information from that individual. Yeah? But you see, these are the guys who want to make a name for themselves, and they brag about the car they drive, they brag about the house they have, they brag about the women they have had. You know, petty things, even sexual exploits, you know. To me, that becomes extremely detrimental and negative to the society that we live in. Yeah? And then the misinformation, the sweeping misinformation. You know, even in terms of our leaders, substantive leaders, yeah? Some substantive leaders talk about the debacle of His Royal Highness, for example, yeah? In terms of the social media backfires that are happening left, right, and center. Whether true or not, yeah? Whether true or not is the point I'm trying to comprehend here. The point is, we need to understand that when you're doing that, you do not know who you're hurting at the end of the day. You know, I feel pity for individuals, as I told you. Some of them come to me and tell me the pain, and as a friend, I just tell them, can you switch your phone off maybe for some time? Just keep quiet. Less is more. That's what they say. Less is more. Yeah? My friend, Dr. Ismail, keeps telling me that you should have an intellectual intercourse in terms of a debate. Yeah? Someone brings a proposition, whether rightly or wrong, you know, respond in an intellectual way without necessarily using, you know, flamboyant or uncalled for words for that purpose. Yeah? Flamboyant in the sense that they are victimizing, or they are offending, you know, or they are character assassinating individuals. Sweeping statements. There is an individual in a certain university where I will not say, in one of their classes, this individual, a student, was asked a question. The lecturer asked a question in a certain university. I will not mention even the course, because you'll probably figure it out. Yeah? And the student raised their hand and gave the answer, and the student said, and the lecturer said, that is the problem with some of you who read notes from this university, because it was another university. And man, you could hear a pin drop. And then the student said, oh man, I am wrong. And the teacher went on explaining other things, and then the student was like, but I think what I said is true. So the student looked for information from an authoritative book and raised the hand again and said, by the way, lecturer, this information can be corroborated with this particular citation. And the student and the lecturer said, let me see. And said, oh, my apologies, actually what you said was right. But remember, the statement had already been said. That's the problem with some of you who read notes that come from this university. You know, sweeping statements. Already you've destroyed. And how will you build? We are not making a justification that wrong information should be thrown off the platform later and said that. No. We're saying if you disagree, Dr. King told us, you can learn to disagree without being violently disagreeable, or perhaps what? Rude in terms of your disagreement. Disagree intellectually. Call perhaps those individuals, write to them perhaps, or engage them. Some of the things that we do today, or that we enjoy today in the world, were done by people failing 1,001 times. Failing 1,001 times, and that's when the perfection came. You know? So you have to learn that in life, and we're not saying we're going to give you time to test on us. You know, those make arguments, say, you mean we should give you the opinion to make us fail or test on us? No, that's not the point I'm saying. I'm saying sometimes they are inadvertent mistakes. Yeah? Even scripture, in its entirety, scripture, Holy Scripture, yeah, the Bible has issues, substantive error. That's why it has been revised several times, yeah, or amended or whatever. In fact, I was talking to my friend Mahiris, Dr. Mahiris last time, and said, even the Bible in its own context, you know, God in his own audacity and omnipotence was able to recognize that, by the way, the Old Testament may no longer work. We need a New Testament. And now there's a digression from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Although we can still argue and relate to the Old Testament in terms of reason. So revisions can be there. So even as you engage, as I said, as you relate, as you judge your friend, your brother, your sister, please understand that it's important for you to empathize, comprehend, and analyze these things. And let's argue. Let's have intellectual debates. Let's not have sweeping statements. Let's not pull down one another. Because at the end of the day, we are brothers, we are sisters, and we may make genuine mistakes. We may be overzealous. We may be overexcited. But we learn. We learn. Some of the things that we have learned today here at Sui Generis have been because of criticism, even from some people who have betrayed us in very, very hurting ways. But we have learned to forgive. We're like what Dr. King said. We have found that love is a much lighter burden than hate. And we have chosen to look for the good things. Yeah? And we will not embarrass, we will not name, we will not shame, we will not attack, we will not revenge. Because the word of God says vengeance belongs to the Lord. So even as you engage in your today activities, my friends, please understand that it may not be academic, it may not be social, it may not be financial, it may be something else that you're going through, you're fighting with in terms of your today participation. Take it easy, my brother. Take it easy, my sister. Yeah? Vengeance belongs to the Lord. Go down, cry to your God and say, God, I made another mistake. Give me another chance. He is able to give you another chance, a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. He did that to Samson. Remember? Samson. Who knew Samson would come back? The word of God says, on his bad day, before I even go there, I was talking to my friend, Pastor Timothy, and he was making this proposition. He said, do you know that Samson, the word of God says, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson and moved him towards the enemies of God. That's what intentionally God, the Spirit of God came upon Samson so that he goes and avenges on the enemy. So even as you were doing these things and you were Christian, hammering us left, right, and center, who knows how many we may be helping at the end of the day. You know, how many people inbox and say, Brother Isaac, thank you. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. And we do it free of charge, by the way. We don't even charge. It tells you how much we're willing to help. We may have made mistakes, but we say we don't want our brothers and sisters to go through the same pain that we did. Let's be the brother, the sister who to pat your back and say, you can do it, you can overcome. Yeah? The word of God says Samson killed more people on the day that he died than he had ever killed in his entire life. That's how God sometimes does things to redeem us. Yeah? So you have to be careful. The story of David, the Bible guy, David, yeah? Even when he committed the sin with Bathsheba, was it Bathsheba? Uriah's wife, yeah? Remember? And God judged him. He said the child is going to die, and he died. And David prayed to the Lord, and then out of that, Solomon, who became the king of what? Through whom Jesus again comes in that lineage, comes out of that. But because David was able to recognize his sins at an early time, and the word of God says, a man after my own heart. David, he calls King David a man after his own heart. So even as you debate, this argument of judging others is a big thing. You just don't know, sometimes maybe God even plays real stuff with us, real stuff. And I say that with absolute respect to the theologians. Yeah? You remember when the Council of Heaven meeting was called, the word of God said, and there was a meeting, and what happened? The devil, Satan, came late, meaning most likely he was expected to be there. Because when he came, they never said, you go away, you're not supposed to be here. They didn't say that. Actually, God said, by the way, Satan, where have you been? Meaning he probably expected him to be there. Yeah? Think about that. The so-called devil, the bad guy. Where have you been? And you know that casual relationship. If I say, by the way, have you been? Meaning, maybe I'm expecting you. Where have you been? He didn't even rebuke him. He said, I've been moving here and there. You know, that casual talk, as a bad day. Then Tambra went you. You know? I said, but in doing so, did you find my guy, Job? Imagine they're even casual now. By the way, they're bragging now. Did you find my bad day, my guy? Did you see Kankone Job? He said, if you hadn't given him protection, you think he would be in that position? Meaning, the leverage still was on God to say, do this. So he said, if you think that's the case, okay, you go touch him. You take anything, but don't take his life. What happened? He did that. And then Job suffered a lot. And his wife even said, why don't you curse God and die? You know, Job said, worms may come out of my skin. I may be suffering, but lo, my Redeemer lives. And I know he will redeem me on the last day. And later, we all know what happened, those of you who are Bible readers. the redemption. So you who are perhaps insulting your friends or abusing your friends or pulling down your friends using social media or whatever platform because you have the power to do so, please be mindful of your brother and sister. Let's be one another's keeper. And we're not saying that we are right or we should simply just set wrong things to take precedence. No. We can help, we can harness in a good way. We can be able to, to organize ourselves. And that's one thing I like about His Excellency, the President of this country. Yeah? He's been able to accommodate different people in spite of the differences. When he realizes that, by the way, that individual has substance, even when he's in the opposition, he will say, can we work together? And I now understand when His Excellency says that when I go to God, I'll tell Him I did everything for Uganda. I now really understand and I believe Him on that. In all honesty, I do believe Him. I do believe Him. I think He's an incredible gift for this country in terms of what He has done for this country. So, Mr. President, greetings from Sui Generis, and long live Your Excellency. Thank you, and thank you for your attention. God bless you. I must take leave. Greetings from Sui Generis. My name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo. Visit our website at lubogo.org, suigenerislawup.com, and find up some of our books are about 15 hours running. We're writing for the betterment of tomorrow. We're not perfect, but we're striving to be there. God bless you. And those of us who support us, God bless you. Those of us who don't support us, God bless you. Thank you. I must take leave.